All right, welcome to Our Experience, ASCP's podcast, the Season 3, Episode 1, 2025 version. As we kick off the new year, I'm Chad Wurz alongside Tom Hansel, and we're going to give you kind of an outline of what's going to happen this year on our podcast. I think as our podcast grows and more and more people listen to it, it's becoming more of a vehicle to talk about what's happening in our industry, which I think is good. We've always tried to do things like that, to bring people in. But I can tell you that even over the holidays, we got a lot of emails and questions at ASCP on what's going on with IRA. We've got a change in the administration. Are they going to repeal it? What's going to happen with PBM reform? There's just so many issues in play. We're going to try to use this media along with the rest of our media at ASCP to communicate what's going on in the industry. And that'll be a focal point, I think.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of changes happening, and some can be considered scary and dangerous, and some I think are very exciting. You know, our population of our seniors are growing at a rampant pace, fastest that's it's ever grown, and we have more seniors now than we've ever had in the U.S., and that's going to continue being dependent upon long-term care pharmacies to step up and take care of those seniors.
Yeah, we haven't done a podcast since the unfortunate murder of the United Healthcare CEO. But I think, you know, however you view that, first of all, it's horrible. It's horrible for that individual's family. I mean, nobody deserves to be, effectively murdered or assassinated like that. But it does bring up sort of a smoldering issue in healthcare, which is we have this system that is almost designed to deny things to save money, and it's causing a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is the frequency of denial in healthcare. If you think about every time you're denied something in healthcare, where's the highest frequency that might happen? What would you say?
Gosh, that's a good question. The highest frequency of denial.
I mean, it has to be at the pharmacy counter.
Yeah.
It has to be. It has to be, hey, I ordered this, and oh, I'm sorry, your insurance doesn't pay for that. You have to get this, or we have to change it to this. And I'm not saying that those kinds of things rise to the level of violence, but they are extraordinarily frustrating to people. And when you can't get what you want, you think there's a conspiracy around it. Like, we can't get Ozempic or Zepbound or whatever we want to help us lose weight and maybe take care of some type 2 diabetes. It starts to create pressure. And I think we're seeing that now. Well, and we're entering a phase where I don't think anybody would have called Donald Trump the change candidate. But when it comes to healthcare, I think there's an opportunity to fix some things and make some changes that get healthcare back into a lane where people think it actually works for them instead of it's this path to denial.
Well, he has to be. I mean, at the end of the day, here we are at 2025. By the time he's done with his 4 years, we're going to have our highest senior population ever. Here, 2030, that's supposed to be the apex of the peak. Medicare is, going bankrupt, or however you want to put it. The healthcare industry and everything that's been going on is really fragmented and broken. And we're in a situation now where some of the biggest companies that have the most control are the insurance companies in the United States.
Yeah.
And they're so vertically integrated, they're controlling the system from beginning to end. And they're an oligopoly, really, at the end of the day, because especially in the PBM world, because there's only a few of them that are controlling 80% of the prescriptions in America today. So they make one change that's going to affect millions and millions of Americans sweeping across the board. Whether that's a good or bad change to make, it certainly is going to be dramatic.
Well, I think that's it. Like, forever, and since I was in school, universal health care. Look at other countries. They just have one single payer, and there's the pros and cons of all of that. But I think you're seeing the cons of a single payer healthcare system, because at the end of the day, you have the government and you have 3 insurance companies. Mm-hmm. So you're as close to single payer as you're ever going to get. Who knows? It could even get down to 2 or even 1 major insurer. And this is what happens. You get mass denial. Like you get, oh, we're not going to pay for that, or we're going to find ways not to pay for that, or we're going to build these networks where all of the people in the network get paid, but the people outside the network don't get paid, even if they do the same tasks, perform the same surgeries, dispense the same drugs. Like we're at a breaking point. and there has to be some relief. There has to be a pressure valve that we're able to tap into in this next administration that kind of, again, puts healthcare back into a lane where people are somewhat satisfied with it.
Well, the biggest, most money, lobbying money or dollars is these companies, is the PBMs and the insurance companies. They have the most lobbying dollars. And so unfortunately, I believe some people in Congress and Senate are making decisions based on their personal gain, regardless of how it affects their constituents.
Yep.
And if there's a policy that can be written, it's breaking that, preventing that from happening, preventing those lobbying dollars to influence politicians. That alone would probably reset the course.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where you sit, I think, in pharmacy. Let's say you're a consultant pharmacist, or you operate independently of your role with a dispensing pharmacy or a brick and mortar pharmacy. This all affects you. Like, they're already putting in place the networks of, if they're ever going to pay a pharmacist to do something clinically, they're already putting in place preferred ways to do it before pharmacists even really get to the table to start performing the service.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that just because you're not working in a retail pharmacy or a long-term care dispensing pharmacy that you're kind of outside of the aim of what's happening in healthcare. You're not. And we have to kind of rally together as a profession wholly and talk about what the role of pharmacy is, pharmacists are, and make sure that we carve out the right path for them. I think one of the things I saw just this week that I thought was particularly interesting is some of the big thinkers in the DC area are starting to recognize that we spend so much time on drug pricing and IRA and fixing this because we have this giant population that uses a lot of meds, and meds are expensive because the pharmaceutical companies price them too high. It's still only 9% of the healthcare dollar.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
It's the hospitals and the way that they bill out their services that are really stripping some of the money out of this. It's the insurance companies that are stripping money out of the system. And until we really focus on that, and I thought that was shocking because the way you would think drug prices are the single biggest issue we have, they're not. They're 9%.
Yeah.
9% to me means
in our
you
world
should be able to get whatever you want, and you should go wherever you want to get it because it's not ultimately that expensive.
No, for sure. But you have disruptors like Mark Cuban and other pharmacies like that are saying, hey, we're going to basically create a cost plus model, right? So here's our cost, and we'll be clear about that, and then you pay us a membership fee, or you pay us some kind of above and beyond our cost. And I believe that those type of things will be disruptive, and I'm sure that PBMs and other companies are trying to stop that, but Mark Cuban hasn't been stopped before, and the things that he's done. So I'm excited about, more and more of that coming on board.
Yeah, and I think you saw it at the end of 24. PBM reform was really at the table. It got cut, I think, ultimately because the new administration, Donald Trump's administration, did not want to give a last win to the outgoing administration. First of all, it wasn't controlled by the Republicans. It was still a Senate that was controlled by the Democrats. They didn't want a bill that said, yeah, we're going to give you this win in PBM reform, but we're also going to throw all this other stuff in it. And I think they won. Trump's group won that argument. They got a skinny bill, and now they have sort of an open canvas that they can deliver PBM reform the way they want it in this new administration. Now it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get that first, volley out there. But I think we have an opportunity with this new administration to get in there and say what it is we think is important and try to get it, particularly in long-term care.
Well, they have the House, the Senate, and the President. So at the end of the day, if they don't cannibalize themselves, they should be able to get a lot of things done.
Agreed.
We might not agree with them or want those things, but change is going to happen for sure, and that's exciting to know. And I think a lot of that's going to be very positive for the American public in general. And if healthcare and PBM reform isn't high on the list, then they're not paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're doing this first episode to kind of lay the groundwork for our podcast for this year. I think the fact that we spent the first 5-10 minutes talking about policy and the shifting sands in healthcare is an indicator of what this year is going to be like. But we're going to bring in guests that are from locally in DC, that are big thinkers, that seem to have a handle on what might happen, how to enact the change that you want. We're going to bring in some of our pillars of industry. We're going to talk about innovations that we're seeing in practice, all in this sort of amalgamous effort to like point our membership at, you know, how to be successful in this industry and in this profession. So
yeah, well, I mean,
that's where we're headed.
We always do a good job at, you know, learning from the past and making sure that the people that blaze those trails ahead of us, you know, that they can continue to advise and tell us what they think and what, you know, the challenges they had and how they persevered and pushed through those, but also about the innovative changes that are coming because, you know, like I mentioned about, you know, the way Mark Cuban's doing pharmacy and a few other, you know, pharmacies out there, you know, is that paradigm shift is really new now, but I think that could become very norm in the future. And,
totally
you know, the government is always seems to be 5 to 10 years behind everyone else in America for some reason. It takes a lot of change, a lot of things to happen for change to happen up there. But, you know, with this new administration, we might be getting change very, very quickly.
No, I agree. I saw another thing I saw this week was somebody posted a picture of an Amazon pharmacy, which again, not saying positive or negative things about any of the different ways to deliver medications in this country, but Amazon on their the way they engage you actually put up there that your copay is, I think it was $4.80. The drug, if you don't process it through insurance, is $3.99. Somebody posted like, thank you for doing that, for telling me that, you know, my insurance is going to charge me more than I could just pay for it outright. And not a great example, but an example of what pharmacy needs to do to continue to push through.
Yeah. Well, those gag orders kept them from doing it for a long
now
time.
They don't have them anymore. But that helps the public recognize, hey, who's the bad guy here?
Yeah.
Bad guy is certainly not the pharmacy. The bad guy probably isn't always the pharmaceutical company. The bad guy is probably the PBM and the insurer.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's what we're seeing. And the other thing I saw recently is the Walgreens commercials. Have you seen those? There's a few of them. I think to us, they're funny because it's somebody walking into a pharmacy being greeted as they're walking down the aisle by the pharmacist, talking about, you know, knowing that person, and then the person needs. They ask different questions like, you know, can I get this cheaper somewhere else? Or, you know, just different questions. And the pharmacist, like, super great, helps them, gets them on their way. And I'm like, that's such an awesome message. I don't know that if anybody walked into a pharmacy that would happen to them, but I like the romanticism.
That's the way it used to be back in the 80s and 90s, right?
I agree. But I like their approach because their message is putting the humanity back into pharmacy, and I think they say it in exactly that way.
Nice.
Thank God somebody's doing that. Like,
nice.
Again, you might walk into Walgreens and it's not like that at all. Chances are it's probably not.
Right.
But I like the idea
of
trying to reinforce, hey, we're people taking care of people here.
That's right.
This isn't, you know.
That's the way the way it should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one thing I'm excited about for our experience coming this year is we're going to try to do a couple tours, right? We're going to kind of visit some pharmacies on site, take our cameras, you know, see the long-term care pharmacy in action. And I know most of our listeners, you know, obviously work in long-term care pharmacies and see that, but I'm really interested in seeing the people that, you know, maybe are retail pharmacists that have never really been inside of a larger long-term care pharmacy or central fill pharmacy. So we're going to identify a few pharmacies, maybe hook them up to the regional meetings and, you know, interview the staff there and take a tour of kind of their pharmacy and kind of see it in action. Yeah.
When we move our regional meetings around this year, we've got a regional meeting in Newport, Rhode Island. So we're going to look for a pharmacy in that area that can be sort of the quote-unquote host of the meeting. They don't have to do anything. We'll ask them if they'd like to do an express talk at the meeting. We'll certainly give them some discounts to attend the regional, but we want to go out and see them too.
Yeah.
Do a podcast from their location and talk about their business and, you know, the history of where it came from and what they're doing and things like that. We want to do that at all of our regional meetings. So we'll flash up on the screen if you're watching this podcast a listing of where our regional meetings are, when they are, and if you're interested in being a host pharmacy for any of our regional meetings, you can fill out a survey. We're going to put a survey link on our YouTube page. which is youtube.com/@our experience podcast. www.youtube.com/@our experience, all one word, RX experience podcast.
Slur.
And we'll put that on the screen too, just to make sure we got
I misspell it all the
right.
time.
But if you go to that link, there'll be a survey there, and it doesn't matter if you're a pharmacy or a pharmacist. We're going to ask you some questions about what kind of topics you'd like to see on the show. We'll ask you some questions about wanting to be involved in our regional meetings. But we really want to get some engagement and, again, kind of amplify this model we have to communicate things in the industry through this podcast.
So, yeah, our experience on the go, right?
That's right. I like that.
That'll be a fun thing to do.
I
and
like that.
Do that a few times. And
the other thing we're going to do, I'm glad you said that, our experience on the go, I like that, is we're going to have another team of hosts come in, Kevin Walker and Jaron Stout, who are out west. Jaron is in Utah, and Kevin is in Washington State, and they are going to host an episode a month. They're going to focus on those innovative pharmacists that are doing things in the billing space with physicians and with Incident 2 billing, and try to bring that into the conversation a little bit more this year. And we're going to call them our Experience Night Shift. They're like our night shift once a month.
Weekend update.
That's right, weekend update. Oh, I like that too. So either way, we're going to have them be on the show every once in a while, probably a set day every month. For their show, which will be just an extension of our show.
Yeah, and both have a clinical background.
Absolutely.
And work directly collaborative care agreements with doctors and have creative ways of generating revenue that hasn't been standard through dispensing or just consultant fees. So
right,
exciting to kind of see that mix. We've had Jaron on the show before
for sure.
So he doesn't mind getting in front of the microphone. He's pretty good.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've got some fun, inspirational quotes.
All right.
And wanted to get your opinion on some of those. But, because it's important as we start the new year. As you can see, I've tried to flip now from football. That's kind of, that's done, dead. Almost here.
If I hadn't won a game since last year and had lost 4 in a row, I'd flipped it.
So I moved on to hockey, as you can see. I've got the Penguins hat on, so that's my focus now.
Gotcha.
But as a new year, though, you have a new hope. So I'm confident that the new year is going to give us a lot of positives, and you have to be optimistic about a lot of things. A lot of things you can't control and change, but I wanted to throw in a few quotes here and get your feedback on some of these. So this says here, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And that's from Eleanor Roosevelt.
Well, that's nice. Presidential, too, in this inauguration year.
Yeah.
Eleanor Roosevelt as a first lady. That's great. I mean, I think if you don't visualize it, you can't get there. And so I think, ASCP has tried to be positive. I try to be positive. I know you're a very positive person. There's no point in doing something if you think the end game is we're going to close, we're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're not going to put the effort in. So I think that's true. Like we want to ultimately, I think as healthcare professionals, all of us, we desire the healthcare system that we would like for ourselves. Mm-hmm. I'd like to walk into a physician's office and have them be a lifelong friend, know everything about me, and be able to identify problems before they become big problems, or help me navigate what I should be doing because of my lifestyle or where I live, or all the different factors that make me individual. And I think patient-centered care is what we all want. We all want access. Nobody wants to be told no.
Yeah.
And we need a healthcare system that responds to that.
And I think that personal relationship is going to come back with a long-term care at home and that home health,
absolutely,
strategy there. I mean, it has to, because again, there's nowhere for these seniors to live, and they want to age in place, and they deserve to age in place, but they need long-term care help.
Yeah, I think it's you remind me of something. My wife just did her first MTM, and I was, we've been snowed in DC, so we were all at home. So I got to kind of, I wasn't part of the conversation.
You were looking over her shoulder, telling her,
yeah,
I think you should do it this way.
Not quite, but It was interesting. So it was an generated MTM. She got assigned to it. I think it's because it was in state of Virginia. The lady was only on 2 drugs, which I found fascinating. But because she asked a question, they triggered an MTM. And my wife talked to her for an hour.
Wow.
She got off, and I'm like, "You're not going to get paid anything for that. Like, you spent an hour."
Yeah.
She's like, "No,
But she probably got a pecan pie recipe, and she probably got all kinds of good stuff.
But no, she does get you do get an hour like that first time. And I'm like, well, that's extraordinarily valuable. Like, why shouldn't everybody get that? Like, you had the opportunity to talk to a pharmacist for an hour about your medications. They went into things beyond meds, into diet a little bit. I just think that's what we should be doing. Like, I'm not sure I like the virtual aspect of it. I do think there's a component that needs to be local and in person, but it's a step in the right direction.
Well, especially if it's snowing or whatever's going on, or travel issues. So, all right, I got another one here. Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. Albert Einstein.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that's what this podcast tries to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, let's go back and get those pillars of industry that were innovators and brilliant in their setting up their businesses in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Understand the factors. They're different today, but they're still factors. They're still pressures, and they still found a way to navigate it. And I think the young pharmacists of today, the people just starting out or just buying a business or starting a business, have to have that same mentality. How do I thread this needle so that I have a successful practice?
Right.
I've got a buddy that just opened a retail pharmacy. I'm like, really? Like, wow. Like,
good for you.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you know, they're trying to thread that needle and figure that out. And maybe they are doing. I mean, I don't think there's a big sign that we put up that says, "Hey, this is the right time." Like,
yeah. Well, you can always come up with an excuse. You know, I tell my kids all the time, there's never a good time to do something that's scary.
Right.
You know, so you got to get up and swing the bat.
Yeah.
You know, and
love it.
Failure's not the worst thing that could happen.
Failure's not an option.
All right, you're going to really like this one.
All right.
Tell me where this comes from. Your focus determines your reality.
Oh, it's got to be a Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That was from Liam Neeson's character in Phantom Menace.
Oh, wow.
Your focus determines your reality. And I think that's something that we really all need to have the most of right now is focusing.
Yeah. I'm watching one of our members, pharmacy members, has been working with ASCP a little bit on some state issues with reimbursement. They service a lot of group homes, so long-term care in the non-traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they're part of a managed Medicaid network that is paying them nothing. Like, literally in their contract, it says you will get paid a maximum of $0.00 to dispense a prescription.
Sign here.
Right. And no, it says accept on there. Like, there's no
nice.
Hey, put in what you think is fair. There's no we're going to pay you what the state would pay you, which is, I think, $9 or $10. It's just zero. And so he's been methodically fighting all through November and December and copying me on on these emails, and it's fascinating to watch. Like, I mean, if we could somehow put an article in the New York Times or paper watching the correspondence between the insurer, the PBM, the state, and the pharmacy, it's almost laughable.
Yeah.
Like, did you I understand that you're concerned about what you're getting reimbursed, and you're getting reimbursed below cost. Did you send an email into info@insurancecompany.com? Well, no, I didn't do that. Let me try that.
Yeah.
A week later, hey, guess what? No one responded. Like, I mean, it's just funny to watch. But it's tragic to watch.
Yeah.
So it's still continuing to play out. It feels like he's getting more attention now, and maybe there's a solution. But what he's leveraging, and I think rightfully so, is, hey, we've got intellectually disabled individuals in group homes that are going to lose their pharmacy because I'm going to either go out of business or be unable to provide.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to figure it out. And everybody seems okay with that because you think that they're just going to figure it out and go to...
Or get from your mail order PBM pharmacy.
Yeah. And it's not going to work because these are individuals that have special needs. They require the higher touch aspects that a long-term care pharmacy can provide, but there's no recognition that they should be reimbursed for that. So we'll see where it goes. It's a continuing fight, but it's frustrating and at the same time just laughable to watch.
Yeah.
Because again, if you had the wrong person on the other end of that, the parent whose son or daughter is getting denied the medication or the treatment that they needed that would really improve their quality of life, you could have that falling down episode. You could have that anger and that violence, spin out of control.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Just happened to the
Right.
healthcare situation. So, yeah. Well, we got to stay focused so we can determine our own reality and keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. Like, he's focused.
Yeah.
He's focused on this, and we'll see.
Very good. We're looking forward to a fun year 3.
I agree.
Can't believe it's year 3 already. It seems like we just started doing this the other day. So
I know, right?
time is going by fast.
It has
I'm
gone
not getting
fast.
any older, but it
No, you're
still
not.
seems to go by fast. So
No, you look as young as you did when you started. Neither of our teams have won a Super Bowl since we started.
I don't
I
think,
think it's frustrating.
I don't think it has anything to do with this, but
But I like you switching to the Pens because the Caps are really good right now. So I can start bringing that into the mix here in the.
yeah,
AC
football's over. It's hockey season now.
All right.
my
Well,
friend.
we'll see you on this year's episodes. Again, we're going to drop that link. It's youtube.com/@RExperience podcast. And we'll have a survey there for everybody. And fill out that survey. You might win a valuable prize. But we'll certainly take your input and help craft our shows. And like I said, we'll look for hosts for our regional meetings as well.
Fantastic.
All right. See everybody next time on Our Experience.